Mira lived in a small town called Glint, far from the busy cities. The town was dry, dusty, and quiet. Most people here were farmers or traders. Mira was different. She was a mechanic. Her workshop sat on the edge of town, filled with broken machines, old tools, and the smell of oil. She loved fixing things. Big or small rover engines, broken drones, heating fans, if it had wires or gears, Mira could repair it. She lived a simple life, never asked for much, and didn't like attention. She wore plain clothes and tied her dark hair in a loose bun. Most days passed slowly, just the way she liked them. One evening, as the sun was setting behind the hills, Mira was closing her workshop. She wiped her hands on a cloth and looked at the sky. The colors were gold and orange. Then she heard a strange sound, a low humming, like something high-tech. A black vehicle came rolling down the dirt road. It was sleek, shiny, and nothing like the old rovers she usually saw. It stopped right in front of her workshop. The engine made a strange click and then died. A man stepped out. He looked simple, dark trousers, plain shirt, boots covered in dust. But something about him felt different. He didn't speak right away. He looked at the vehicle, then at Mira. "Engine's gone cold," he said. "Won't restart." Mira nodded and walked toward the car. She studied the design. It was smooth, high-end, and clearly not local. Her fingers ran across the outer panel. She found the release and opened the hood. Inside, the engine was a puzzle of glowing circuits and crystal-like parts. Mira's eyes narrowed. This was advanced far beyond anything she had worked on. She glanced at the man. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "Company loaner," he said simply. "Can you fix it?" Mira didn't answer. She grabbed a small scanner from her table and began to run a check. The machine made a soft beep, then flickered. She frowned. The scanner couldn't read half the parts. She looked back at the man. "It's different. Might take all night." "Take your time," he said, sitting on a nearby crate. "I'll wait." Mira didn't like being watched, but she didn't argue. She rolled up her sleeves and got to work. Hours passed. The man said little, just watched as Mira pulled out tools and tested connections. She worked quietly, focused. She didn't need fancy machines, just her hands and her mind. She traced the problem to the power node. The engine was using a new kind of core, lightweight but unstable. Whoever built it had tried to force speed without balance. It was overheating and shutting itself down. Mira adjusted the coils, rewired the field stabilizer, and added a heat dampener using parts from an old fan motor. Then she recalibrated the flow lines and did something unusual. She slowed it down. It didn't need to go faster. It needed to go smoother. By the time the stars were shining above, the engine gave a soft, steady hum. She wiped sweat from her forehead, closed the hood, and looked at the man. "It's done." He stood up. "Already?" "Wasn't hard," she said. "I changed a few things. It'll run better now." He looked surprised. He opened the door, started the car, and smiled when the engine came alive. Smooth, quiet, perfect. "How much?" he asked. Mira thought for a second. "Standard rate, 100 credits. He blinked. "That's all?" She nodded. "I don't charge more just because a machine looks fancy." He reached into his coat, pulled out a card, and transferred the credits. "Thank you, Mira." She paused. "I didn't tell you my name." The man smiled faintly. "It's on the sign above your door." Mira glanced up. She had painted that sign years ago. He got back in the vehicle and gave her one last look. "You're good," he said. "Very good." Then he drove off, disappearing into the night. Mira stood in silence for a moment, then returned to her shop. She didn't think much about the man or the car. People came and went. She fixed what was broken. That was her life. She wrote a quick note in her log. "Black cruiser. Unstable core. Fixed heat loop. No follow-up needed." Then she turned off the lights, locked the door. and went to bed. She had no idea who the man really was, and she didn't know that tomorrow the quiet town of Glint would see something it had never seen before, a luxury helicopter landing at her door. The next morning started like any other for Mira. The sun rose slowly over the dry hills of Glint. Light filtered through the dusty windows of her small workshop. Mira was already awake, her hands deep inside the belly of a rusty hover cart. The cart belonged to old Wren, the farmer who came by every few weeks. Its wheels were stuck again. Mira worked quietly. She liked the calm. There was no noise, no rushing, and no trouble. Just machines and metal. That was enough for her. But today, things were different. As she wiped her hands and stood up, she heard a strange sound in the sky, a low hum, growing louder and sharper. It was not the sound of a normal ship or hovercraft. It was smoother, deeper, and much heavier. Mira stepped outside. Her eyes widened. A large, silver helicopter was flying low toward her workshop. It sparkled in the morning sun. The blades spun like a silent fan, and its body was shaped like a smooth arrow. She had never seen anything like it. People from the town had come out too. They pointed at the sky and talked in hushed voices. Helicopters slowed, hovered above her field, and then gently landed on the open ground behind her shop. Dust rose in the air, and the wind from the blades pushed her hair back. Mira took a step backward. The door of the helicopter slid open. Out stepped the same man from last night, but he didn't look like a traveler now. He wore a clean suit, sharp and elegant. A silver pin rested on his chest. Two other people stepped out behind him, one holding a case, the other carrying a tablet. The man walked toward her with a smile. "Good morning, Mira." She looked at him, surprised. "You again?" "Yes," he said. "I told you, you're very good." Mira crossed her arms. "You came in a helicopter just to say that?" He chuckled softly. "Not exactly." He held out his hand. "My name is Dale Haven." The name hit Mira like a spark. She had heard that name before. On the news, in magazines, and on data screens. Dale Haven was the founder of Haven Group, one of the biggest tech companies in the galaxy. Ships, engines, power systems, all made by his company. He was a billionaire, a genius, and known for keeping a low profile. "You're him?" Mira asked. He nodded. "Yes, and I came here because of you." Mira frowned. "Why?" Dale motioned toward the helicopter. "Come with me. I want to show you something." Inside the helicopter, Mira sat across from Dale. The seat was soft, and the space was quiet. The assistant beside him tapped on a screen. A large image floated in the air between them. It showed a strange machine, smooth, glowing with light. Numbers and diagrams moved beside it. "This is the core you repaired," Dale said. "An experimental power unit. Still being tested by our top engineers. We placed it in one of our test vehicles, just to see how it worked in real conditions." Mira leaned forward. It was unstable. "Yes," Dale said. "And we thought it couldn't be fixed." He looked at her. "But you fixed it in one night. Not just fixed it, improved it. Do you realize what you did?" Mira shook her head. "I just made it stable and smoother," Dale smiled. "That's the thing, nobody else could. You balanced the heat flow, redirected the field pressure, and improved the efficiency by 19%. That's huge." Mira stayed quiet. "I've worked with engineers from every corner of the galaxy," Dale continued. "They have big degrees and shiny labs. But none of them did what you did alone, with basic tools, in a dusty shop." Mira looked down at her hands. "I'm not one of those smart people," she said. "I just fix things." Dale leaned forward. "And that's what makes you special. You think differently. You understand machines in a way that can't be taught." He sat back and nodded to the assistant, who opened the case. Inside was a small device with a glowing light and a thin metal card. "This is a pass to any Haven facility across the colonies," Dale said. "If you ever want to work with us, the door is open." Mira didn't touch the card. "Why me?" "Because you made the impossible work," he replied. "And because we need minds like yours." She paused, then asked, "And what if I say no?" "Then we leave," he said kindly. "And I'll still thank you for what you did." Back on the ground, the town was still watching. The helicopter doors opened again, and Dale stepped out, followed by Mira. She walked a few steps, then turned to face him. "I like my shop," she said, "and I like working alone." "I understand," Dale replied. "But if you ever change your mind, just tap the card." He handed it to her one last time. Myra looked at it. Simple, silver, light in the hand. She didn't say anything, but she took it. Dale nodded, walked back to the helicopter, and disappeared into the sky. That night, Mira sat by her workbench, staring at the card. It didn't beep. It didn't blink. Just sat there quiet. She smiled softly and went back to fixing old Ren's hovercart. But deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. The sun had just climbed into the sky when Mira stepped out of her workshop. The air smelled of dry soil and warm metal. She took a deep breath, stretched her arms, and looked out toward the road. Everything seemed normal again, but her mind was not at rest. The silver card from yesterday still lay on her table inside. She hadn't touched it since Dale handed it to her. It didn't glow, didn't beep, didn't even look important, but Myra knew it was. A simple piece of metal, yet it held a link to one of the biggest tech groups in the galaxy. She shook the thought from her mind. "Back to work," she said softly to herself. She opened the shop door, picked up a small drone that needed rewiring, and was about to begin when the ground started to rumble. "Not again," she thought. Standing up quickly, the wind picked up. Outside, a powerful sound filled the air. It was the same sound from the day before. The helicopter. Myra walked out, shielding her eyes. The large silver aircraft descended again, this time more slowly. It landed gently in the same spot behind her shop. But today, more people stepped out. Dale was there, as expected, wearing the same calm smile. Behind him came two men in dark jackets, followed by a woman carrying a case with blinking lights. Last came a man in glasses who looked around nervously as he stepped onto the dry ground. Mira raised an eyebrow. Dale walked toward her. "I know I said I wouldn't come back unless you called," he said. "But we have a problem." Mira frowned. "A problem?" "Yes," he said, lowering his voice. "Someone else noticed what you did." He pointed to the quiet man in glasses. "This is Taven. He's our security tech lead. He tracked some unusual activity last night. A signal. Someone was watching." Mira crossed her arms. "Watching me?" Dale nodded. "Your shop. After I left yesterday, someone tried to access our test records. They were looking for the vehicle you repaired. They traced it to here." "Who?" she asked. "Ronan Tech," Dale said quietly. "They're not friendly. They've been trying to steal our designs for years." Mira didn't say anything. Dale continued, "They might come here again. We believe they've already sent someone into this town, someone pretending to be a trader or visitor." Mira looked down the road. In a small town like Glint, strangers didn't stay unnoticed, but she hadn't seen anyone new lately. At least not that she remembered. "I'm not worried," she said finally. "You should be," Dale replied. "They don't knock on doors. They break them." Mira stayed silent for a moment, then spoke again. "Why not just protect your engine? Leave me out of it." "Because you are part of it now," Dale said. "You touched something they couldn't. You made it work. That makes you important." Myra didn't like being called important. Important people had targets on their backs. Dale stepped closer. "Come with us, just for a few days. We'll keep you safe, and maybe you'll help us again." Mira thought hard. She had her tools, her workshop, her peaceful life. She didn't want labs and cameras. But danger wasn't something she could ignore. "If I go," she said, "I want control. I don't want orders." "I fix things my way," Dale smiled. "That's the only reason I came back." Mira packed lightly. Just her favorite tools, a notebook, and her gloves. She told old Ren to watch the shop for a few days. He nodded, though he looked confused. "You joining a sky crew or something?" he asked. "Something like that," she replied as the helicopter lifted off. Mira looked down at the town of Glint. Tiny houses, dusty roads, and her little workshop. It looked smaller from up here. She didn't know where she was going. But she knew the machines would be waiting. The journey didn't take long. The helicopter flew over dry valleys, silent forests, and shining water fields. It finally landed on a floating platform above a mountain ridge. The place looked like a research base, but much more advanced. White towers reached into the clouds. Drones moved along clean glass walls. People in suits walked quickly from place to place. Dale led Mira into the main building. She passed screens showing energy readings, engine tests, and star maps. It was all sharp and glowing, like a dream from another world. "You'll stay here," Dale said, opening a door to a quiet room. "There's a lab next to it. Use it how you like." "I need my own bench," Mira said, "and no auto tools." "You'll have both." Mira nodded once, but as she turned to enter the lab, something caught her eye. A man in a long coat stood at the far end of the hall, staring at her. He had no badge. He wasn't moving like the others. His eyes locked with hers for just a second, then he walked away. Mira felt a chill. "Who was that?" she asked. Dale looked in the direction the man had gone. "I don't know," he said quietly, "but I'll find out." That night, Mira sat at her new workbench, the silver card beside her tools. The lab was silent, clean, and perfect, but it didn't feel like home. Still, she opened her notebook and began to sketch. Ideas came easily. New ways to improve the energy flow, new cooling designs, a better core shell. Outside the glass window, drones patrolled the sky. But Mira knew, no matter how clean the place was, something was wrong. Someone was watching, and the quiet world of Glint was far behind her now. Mira didn't sleep much that night. Her room at the Haven research base was quiet, clean, and comfortable. The walls glowed with soft lights. The bed felt like a cloud. But Mira wasn't used to comfort like this. She missed the hum of her tools, the smell of oil, and the creak of her wooden chair back home in Glint. More than that, she couldn't stop thinking about the man in the hallway, the way he looked at her. Calm, but not friendly. Like he was measuring something. She didn't like it. The next morning, Mira stepped into her private lab. It was everything a mechanic could ask for: polished workbenches, tool racks, power stations, and even a materials printer. But Mira walked past the shiny gadgets. She found a plain table, pulled up a stool, and began working with her own tools. She had brought her old wrench, a solder stick, and her favorite scanner. The rest she borrowed carefully. A few engineers peeked through the glass wall to see what she was doing. They whispered and pointed. Mira ignored them. She wasn't here to impress anyone. Later that day, Dale came to visit. He stepped into the lab without knocking, holding a tablet. "We got the full scan report," he said. "Your energy core design is cleaner than anything we've seen. Even the simulation system didn't catch the improvements." Mira was sitting on the floor, tuning a tiny coil with a file. She didn't look up. "I didn't do it for numbers," she said. "I did it because the balance was wrong," Dale smiled. "That's what makes it special." He placed the tablet on the bench and pulled up a chair. "I wanted to talk to you about something else, something bigger." Mira raised an eyebrow. Dale leaned forward. "We've been working on a prototype ship. One that can travel farther and faster than anything else out there. It needs a special engine, yours." "I'm not a pilot," Mira said. "You don't have to fly it. Just build it with us." Mira paused. "Who's us?" Dale tapped. The tablet. A 3D model appeared above it, long and smooth, like a bird made of glass and metal. Underneath it was written, "Project Silver Wind. This is a quiet project. Only a few people know about it. It's meant to travel across long distances without fuel stops, to go beyond the colony lines, even into dark space." Mira stood up and wiped her hands on a cloth. "And you want me to help build the heart of it?" Dale nodded. "Yes, the core, the engine, the soul." Mira looked at the model. Her fingers twitched. She already saw changes she would make: shifts in weight, airflow gaps, missing stabilizers. But she also saw the risks. "You still haven't told me everything," she said quietly. Dale sighed. "No, I haven't." He stood and walked to the glass wall, looking out across the mountain ridge. "The man you saw in the hallway," he said. "His name is Bren. We found out he's not one of ours." Mira's eyes narrowed. "He's with Ronan Tech?" "We believe so," Dale said. "He slipped in using fake credentials. We're tracking him, but he's careful. And he's here for me." She asked. "Most likely," Dale replied. "They want to know how you fixed that engine. They want the design." Mira shook her head. "I don't want to be part of your war." "It's not a war," Dale said. "It's a race. If they get to dark space first, they'll control what comes next: trade, travel, even information. And if I help you?" Mira asked. "You won't just be helping me," Dale said. "You'll be helping everyone who believes technology should be shared, not stolen." Mira didn't reply right away. She walked to the window and looked at the sky. Far above, clouds floated slowly, untouched by the fight below. Finally, she turned back to him. "If I agree, I work alone. No cameras, no assistance. And I need full access to your core systems." Dale nodded. "Done. And if I say no?" "Then we'll protect you and send you home. You'll never hear from us again." Mira looked at the model one more time. Then she picked up her notebook and began sketching. Dale smiled. "I'll take that as a yes." Over the next few days, Mira worked like never before. She didn't just fix things, she built something new. She changed the shape of the core, added a cooling ring, rewrote the power cycle, and designed a field loop that could adjust in real time. Her fingers moved fast, her mind even faster. The other engineers left her alone, except to deliver parts or data she requested. They soon learned that Mira's simple way of working was better than any machine's prediction. Even the senior designer, a quiet woman named Ellen, came to her one day and said, "I studied engines for 15 years. But the way you balance energy ... it's like you feel it." Mira just shrugged. "Machines talk if you listen right." But even as the project grew, Mira felt the pressure outside her lab grow too. One evening, as she left to get some air, she saw Bren again. He stood near the elevator, speaking to someone on a small device. When he noticed her, he quickly turned away. That night, Mira placed a small motion sensor under her lab bench, just in case. 2 more days passed. The prototype core was almost complete. Dale came in with a wide smile. "The team can't believe it," he said. "We'll be ready for the first ship test by next week." Mira nodded, tired but calm. "Just make sure the pilot listens to the engine," Dale laughed. "I'll let them know." But deep down, Mira had a strange feeling like something was about to change, something big. Mira stood in her lab, holding the glowing core in both hands. The soft hum of energy filled the room, smooth and steady, like a calm heartbeat. The prototype was finished. Her design had worked better than expected, but her mind wasn't at peace. She kept thinking about the man named Bren. For the last few days, she had seen him often. In the hallway, near the cafeteria, even walking past her lab. He never spoke to her, but he always watched. His face remained calm, almost friendly, but his eyes told a different story. Mira trusted machines more than people. And something about Bren felt wrong. Late one evening, Mira stayed in the lab after everyone else had left. She sat on the floor with a drone, testing its sensors. The building was quiet. Only the soft buzz of electricity and the distant hum of wind outside broke the silence. Then, something clicked. She turned her head. A shadow moved just outside the lab's glass wall. Mira stood quickly and stepped behind her tool bench, holding her old wrench tightly in one hand. The lab door opened slowly, but it wasn't Dale. It was Bren. He walked in calmly, like he belonged there. His hands were empty, but Mira didn't relax. Working late? He asked with a soft smile. What do you want? Mira said, her voice firm. I've heard things, he said, walking closer. They say you built something no one else could. That you fixed a broken idea and made it better. Mira didn't reply. Bren stopped near the energy core, which was rusting in its case. He looked at it with quiet interest. I've also heard Haven Group plans to test the ship soon, he said. And that your engine will take it farther than any other. Still, Mira said nothing. Then Bren turned and looked at her. I work for a group that believes this kind of technology shouldn't belong to just one company, he said. It should be shared with those who know how to use it well. Mira narrowed her eyes. You mean stolen? He smiled gently. Sometimes stealing is just borrowing without asking. Mira tightened her grip on the wrench. We don't want to hurt anyone, Bren said. We just want to make sure progress doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Mira stepped closer. And who decides what's the right hand? He raised an eyebrow. Maybe people like us. No, she said firmly. I'm not with you. He sighed. That's a shame. Then he turned and walked out, leaving the door slightly open behind him. Mira stood still for a long moment. Then she locked the door. The next morning, Mira told Dale everything. He listened carefully, his hands folded on the table. When she finished, he looked concerned but not surprised. We suspected him, he said, but we didn't have proof. Thank you. He was here last night, Mira said. He saw the core, Dale nodded. Then we'll have to move quickly. Later that day, the base security team quietly surrounded the building. Mira was moved to a secure room with her tools and the energy core. Her lab was scanned for any hidden devices. Dale gave the order, prepare the ship for launch. Mira wasn't sure what the rush was, but she trusted her gut, and her gut said danger was close. That night, she didn't sleep. Instead, she stayed in the ship bay, checking every wire, every bolt. She made sure the engine was ready. This wasn't just a test flight anymore. It felt like something more. Around midnight, alarms rang through the base. Mira jumped to her feet as red lights flashed above. Seconds later, Dale rushed in. They're here, he said breathlessly. 2 ships. Ronan Tech, armed. They dropped stealth probes into the ridge. One tried to jam our comms. Mira's heart pounded. What do they want? The core, Dale said. And maybe you. What's the plan? We're launching now, he said, with the prototype. Mira looked at him. That ship's not fully tested. He nodded. But it's the only one fast enough to get away. Who's flying it? She asked. I am, he said. Mira hesitated, then grabbed her tool bag. Not without me. The ship was ready in minutes, silver, sleek, and light as air. Mira's engine sat at its heart, glowing blue with silent power. As Mira and Dale climbed aboard, the crew on the ground gave a quiet salute. Dale took the pilot seat. Mira sat beside him, watching every screen. The ship lifted off smoothly, faster than expected. Mira smiled a little. It worked. Where are we going? She asked. Out of range, Dale said. To one of our hidden stations. They won't be able to follow. As the ship climbed higher, red markers flashed on the radar. They've launched drones, Dale said. Mira's fingers flew across the screen. I'm rerouting power to shields. Give me control of the stabilizer. Dale tapped a button. It's yours. The ship soared through the clouds. Behind them, the Ronan drones gave chase. But Mira's engine wasn't just fast, it was smart. It adapted with every turn. The field around them shifted like silk, dodging energy blasts and outpacing the drones with ease. Mira laughed under her breath. They'll never catch us. Within minutes, the enemy drones fell out of range. The ship crossed the outer ridge, heading into open skies. They were safe. For now. An hour later, the ship landed gently at a hidden station built into a cliffside. Inside, a small team greeted them with quiet smiles and warm hands. They were scientists and engineers, people who believed in peaceful progress. Dale looked at Mira as they stepped off the ship. You saved us. No, she said, brushing dust from her sleeve. The engine did. He smiled. And you made the engine. That night, Mira stood on a balcony, looking out at the stars. She held a cup of warm tea, her hands still stained with oil. The wind was soft, and the station was quiet. Far above, the stars blinked gently. Machines didn't lie. They didn't trick. They just worked or they didn't. And today, Mira had built something that worked better than anything before. But she knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The hidden station was quiet and calm, nestled deep inside a mountain cliff. From the outside, it looked like part of the rock. But inside, it was filled with machines, screens, and people working silently. The air smelled of clean metal and fresh mountain wind. Mira had her own space now, a workshop that felt more like her old one back in Glint. It wasn't big or fancy, but it was hers. There were wires on the floor, parts on shelves, and a familiar bench where she could sit and think. She liked it that way, but something had changed. She was no longer just a simple mechanic. She had created something new, an engine that adapted, healed itself, and moved faster than anything before it. She had faced danger, run from drones, and watched her design save lives. Now she was part of something greater. Dale visited her early the next morning. His face looked tired, but his eyes were bright with excitement. We want to go further, he said. Not just faster. Not just safer. We want to go beyond. Beyond what? Mira asked, still holding a power rod in her hand. Beyond the colony lines. Beyond the stars we know. Into the black zones where no one travels. Mira didn't answer right away. She sat back in her chair and thought. Then she asked quietly, what do you expect to find there? Dale paused. New energy sources, unknown planets. Maybe even signs of life. Mira stared at him. And if something finds us first? Dale smiled softly. Then we'll have to be ready. For the next few days, Mira worked with full focus. She wasn't just improving the engine, she was reshaping it. She called it the living core. Not because it was alive, but because it responded like something that understood what the ship needed. She added pulse rings, which allowed it to repair minor damage in flight. She reprogrammed the energy loop so it could change its flow based on pressure and heat. She even created a tiny sensor that learned from every trip, saving data. Improving results. Her fingers worked fast, but her mind was faster. She didn't need complex computers. Her ideas came from the way things felt, moved, and sounded. Every night, she tested the new parts under low light. Every morning, the others watched in quiet amazement. She's building something no one else can. One of the engineers whispered. During one of her breaks, Mira stood outside the station, watching the sky. The stars were brighter here, far from city lights. They looked like tiny lanterns hanging in a dark sea. A soft voice spoke behind her. You remind me of my mother. Mira turned. It was Ellen, the quiet senior designer who had been helping in the background. She was a builder, too, Ellen said. But she never worked in big companies. She fixed boats on a small island. Mira smiled. Sounds peaceful. It was. Ellen said. Until a storm came and the people needed something stronger. My mother rebuilt all the boats herself. No one asked her to, she just did it. Mira nodded slowly. Sometimes we build because we have to. Not because anyone tells us. Ellen looked at her with respect. You've changed the way I see engines. Thank you. Mira gave a small smile. It's not magic, just balance. By the end of the week, the new version of the ship was ready. It stood tall in the station bay, sleek silver with soft blue lines running down its side. Inside, Mira's living core glowed steadily. Waiting for the journey, Dale and his team gathered to review the plans. The ship will travel farther than anything we've launched before, he said. We'll head towards Sector 9, a zone never mapped completely. A few scientists looked nervous. There are rumors, one said quietly. Things seen there. Ships that vanished. We're not afraid, Dale said. Because we have the right mind behind this ship. He looked at Mira. She looked back at him. I'll fly with you, she said. Just this once. The next morning, the ship lifted off. Mira sat beside Dale again, just like before. Her tools were packed in a small case under her seat. She didn't like to travel without them. The launch was smooth. The engine adjusted on its own, keeping the flight steady through rough winds and air shifts. The crew sat quietly, amazed by how silent the core ran. No shaking, no overheating, no power drops. As they left the planet's orbit, Mira watched the stars grow sharper and clearer. The ship passed through several zones in minutes. Her living core recorded every motion, every signal, and learned from it. Dale leaned forward. We're entering Sector 9. The screens blinked once. Then again, something moved in the distance. Mira narrowed her eyes. That's not a star. A dark shape drifted slowly across the screen. Not fast, not loud. Just there. It wasn't a rock or another ship. It had no lights. No signal. Just a large, smooth body like metal or glass. The crew went silent. What is it? Dale whispered. Mira stared at it. I don't know. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship's engine began to shift. The living core changed its energy. Patterned soft pulses, then slower waves. It's responding to something, Mira said. A soft sound filled the cabin. Not an alarm, not a warning. Just a low tone, like a hum. The shape outside slowly turned, as if watching them. Then without a word, it moved away, disappearing into the dark. Everyone stayed quiet. The engine returned to normal. Mira looked at Dale. We weren't alone, she said. No, Dale agreed. But they let us go. The ship returned home safely, and the story of the journey stayed within the small team. For now. Mira returned to her bench the next day, her tools waiting for her. She didn't speak much. But she opened her notebook and began drawing again. The engine had worked, but now, something inside her wanted to go even further, not just across space, but beyond understanding. The quiet hum of the engine filled the workshop. Mira sat at her bench, her hands moving carefully over small wires and metal parts. Her eyes were calm but bright. The journey had changed her. She was no longer just the woman from Glint who fixed broken machines. She had become someone who built the future. But even with all the success, something still pulled at her heart. She thought about the stars they had seen, the silent shape that watched them in the dark space, and the mysteries waiting beyond the colony lines. Mira knew that the world was bigger than her small town, bigger than the mountain station, bigger even than the ship she helped build. Dale entered the workshop quietly, holding a cup of warm tea. He smiled when he saw Mira focused at work. You look different, he said softly. Mira didn't look up at first. Then she smiled. I feel different. He sat down across from her. You've done more than fix engines. You've changed the way we think about power and speed. Mira nodded. It's not just power, it's balance. Machines have to work with nature, not against it. Dale sipped his tea. I hope you know how much we appreciate you. I didn't do it for thanks, Mira said simply. I did it because it needed fixing. For the next few days, Mira worked on small improvements. She wasn't rushing anymore. This time she wanted every detail perfect. One afternoon, while she was adjusting the core's cooling system, a soft beep came from her workbench. She looked up. The silver card Dale had given her glowed faintly. Curious, Mira touched it. A hologram appeared in front of her. It was a message. "Hello, Mira," Dale's voice said. "If you are seeing this, it means you've accepted your place with us. The future is bright, and we will face it together. The galaxy is waiting." Mira smiled softly. She felt something warm inside, a connection, a promise, a hope. But Mira's heart was still tied to her home. One evening, she stood outside the station, looking at the stars. She thought about Glint, her quiet town, her simple workshop, and the people she left behind. A gentle breeze carried the scent of earth and rain. She knew she could return any time. But she also knew she had changed. She was no longer just fixing broken machines. She was building new ones. Weeks later, Mira received a message from old Ren. "Workshop is fine. Town is fine. Waiting for you." Mira smiled, folded the card, and put it in her pocket. Her journey was far from over. In the quiet of her new workshop, Mira placed the glowing core into a small case. She looked at it for a moment, then turned toward the open door. Beyond it was the galaxy. Full of unknowns, dangers, and wonders. And Mira was ready. As she stepped outside, the sun rose over the mountain ridge. The sky was painted with gold and pink. The future was bright, and Mira's story was just beginning.